Good afternoon, FBC Salinas. I certainly hope you're having a fantastic day. This is Pastor John coming to you with another edition of the Midweek Refresher video. It's my intention to give you some information as well as give you some inspiration. How does that sound? I like that. Information and inspiration, it works together pretty well. So, first thing for information's sake is this Sunday morning at 8:45 a.m., we will offer a spiritual formation class, starting a new series this week and looking forward to how that's going to transpire. You will receive a Zoom room ID with that sometime early Sunday morning, not too early though, I know that very well. So around 8 o'clock or so, you'll get that information. Second announcement is this, and it pertains to worship service, and get this word, options. Worship service options, meaning that there are more options for you, there are more choices for you. The first is this: we will have an online service where you can watch it at the convenience and participate at the convenience of your schedule. That will be available on Sunday mornings at 8 a.m. We know this last weekend that didn't happen until Monday because we were trying something different. And so I want you to know that for the foreseeable future, indefinitely, I guess you could call it, that service will be available online at 8 a.m. Second option is this: we are worshiping outside at 10:30 a.m. on the back lawn every Sunday now. We look forward to how that's going to go. We've had a wonderful experience in June doing that, and we look forward to this continuing to do that very thing at 10:30 this Sunday. And here is the third option. We are going to have a worship service in the sanctuary at 5 p.m. on Sunday afternoons. Yes, there will be seating. Obviously, there will be seating available, and we will trust that people will distance themselves, and we'll look forward to that as well. So those three options are available. The online service, which will be available at 8 a.m. on Sunday mornings, the 10:30 service outside on the back lawn, and then Sunday afternoon at 5 p.m. All right, so there's that. And the service will also be available on 92.9 on the FM dial. All right, so if you want to simply show up at the church and not get out of your car, you simply want to be here, that would be fine. 92.9 FM. And also, we talked at our staff meeting yesterday. We're not going to be taking temperature checks for the 5 p.m. service. We will trust that people are self-monitoring. If you're not feeling well, stay home, please. That would be great. Again, masks need to be worn, and we understand that that's what's going on there. So those are the announcements. That's the information. And now we come to what I hope is inspiration. Let's talk about this last Sunday, shall we? It was quite a shock, wasn't it? To be in the service, to be in the sanctuary, and to see it taped off, to have people spaced out in such a way that it was very stark. And I know this, it caught many people off guard. And I understand that. And I also understand that it wasn't easy for many people. I get that as well. This whole season has not been easy for many people at all. And it is my hope, it is my prayer, that in the process of that being such a jolt to the system, that we understand that we're doing all we can to be diligent here, to be diligent in making sure that things are safe, to be diligent in the way that we interact with one another. And we want to do that as well as we can. And one of the conclusions I'm reaching throughout this period of time is that people are very uneasy with change. Yes, we all need to be growing and we all need to be changing, yet when change is thrust upon us, oftentimes we hesitate with it and we don't know what to do with it. And yes, it was a different type of worship service, not having any songs. But I again emphasize this, that service was planned that way a long time ago as we looked at the Lord's Prayer, and we wanted to emphasize the prayer portion. And so all of these elements combine together to have us have an experience on Sunday that was very, it was just different. That's all there is to it. And that's okay that it was different. because our God is unchanging. Things might be different here, but he's unchanging and he's all good. And Heidi brought up this particular portion in her prayer at the end, and she said, Lord, may we focus not on the restrictions, but on what we can do. And I've taken that as a challenge for myself personally. It's real easy to focus on the restrictions. It's real easy to say, I want it to be the way it was back in March. Well, that's not going to happen for quite a while. And I want to focus in on, and what I found is that when I focus in on the restrictions, I'm restricting myself and failing to see what I do get to do. What we do get to do as a church is we still get to worship. And that's what I loved about Heidi's prayer was, Lord, help us not focus on the restrictions, but help us focus in on what we can do. And that includes worshiping. That includes gathering together. Yes, it's in an odd situation, yet at the same time, it is still gathering together, isn't it? And our God is still being worshiped, isn't he? And I rejoice in that, even though it's difficult and even though it's a challenge. I rejoice in the fact that we can still gather together, and we will continue to do that very thing. And one of the things that occurred to me yesterday, and this might cause you to chuckle a little bit, but while I was in the shower yesterday, I was inspired. How does that sound? And that happens in so many different ways. When there are so many different things on my mind, it's amazing that God says, take a shower and let's talk, shall we? So we ended up in the shower, I ended up saying to the Lord, what's going on? How can we do this? Give me some ideas here. And he told me this. I don't know if he told me that directly, but there was this thought of this truth that right now, we're in the wilderness. We're in the wilderness. God's people have been in the wilderness before, and as that thought began to percolate in my mind, I found myself thinking, that's exactly right. We're in the wilderness. We don't know what to do. We are afraid, perhaps. We are anxious, perhaps. We are uneasy, perhaps. There's all these different emotions because when we're in the wilderness, we really don't know what to do. And I found some comfort in these words found in Exodus chapter 16, starting at verse 1. The whole Israelite community set out from Elim and came to the desert of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second month after they had come out of Egypt. So the Israelites are out of Egypt, and then they're in the wilderness. And in the wilderness, the whole community grumbled against Moses and Aaron. The Israelites said to them, if only we had died by Yahweh's hand in Egypt. There we sat around pots of meat and ate all the food we wanted, but you have brought us out into this desert to starve this entire assembly to death. I feel for Moses and Aaron here. The grumbling happens. When we're in the desert, we grumble. And I'm not going to go into all the lengthy list of things that people have told me throughout this desert time. It's a long list. People have made statements that, I will be very frank with you, have hurt deeply. Because we're in the wilderness. People don't know what to do. People are grumbling. They've made statements to our team that have hurt. Because we're in the wilderness, we grumble. We look for somebody to point a finger at. Because we're in the wilderness, we complain. Because we're in the wilderness, we think that God, I don't know, isn't there anymore or something like that. But I want you to hear me very clearly on this. This team is working diligently to do all we can to help as many people as possible to encounter Jesus Christ and to do what we can to encourage people to understand him better and better. But we're in the wilderness as well. And there are times when we're looking at one another saying, where do we need to go? What do we need to do? And it's my prayer as a pastor that I guide us through this time in the wilderness as best I can. And I'm crying out to God every day for this community of faith. I'm asking him to give me wisdom, to give the elders wisdom, to give our team wisdom, to give all of us wisdom on how to navigate these days, because they have been long and we don't know when we'll be out of the wilderness. But we do know this. We do know this, that the story doesn't end in the wilderness. We flip a few pages to the right, actually a number of pages to the right, and we land in Deuteronomy 29. And listen to these words, starting at verse 2. Moses summoned all the Israelites and said to them, "Your eyes have seen all that Yahweh did in Egypt to Pharaoh, to all his officials, and to all his land. With your own eyes you saw those great trials, those signs and great wonders. But to this day Yahweh has not given you a mind that understands, or eyes that see, or ears that hear. Yet Yahweh says," listen carefully to this, folks. Listen carefully. Yet Yahweh says, "During the 40 years that I led you through the wilderness, your clothes did not wear out, nor did the sandals on your feet." He's with us in the wilderness. For 40 years, the Israelites were in the wilderness. For 40 years, perhaps they grumbled on and on and on. We don't know. But we do know this, that the story didn't end in the wilderness. It ended with them being taken somewhere else. And I love what he says here. For 40 years I was with you. For 40 years I led you. My question to you is this: have we forgotten that the Lord is with us in the wilderness? He did not stop caring for his people. He says that their clothes did not wear out, nor did the sandals on their feet. Have we forgotten that he's with us? And what I mean by that, have we forgotten that he's with us in this wilderness by the words that we choose to use towards one another, by the actions that we take or we don't take? Have we forgotten that he is with us in the wilderness? My prayer for this community of faith continues to be, Lord, lead us. Lord, guide us. Lord, use us. Lord, continue expanding your kingdom through us. I love you. I'm praying for you. I trust that the Lord will continue walking us through this wilderness time, because that's where we are. And may we seek to follow him rather than follow some other stuff. I love you. Praying for you. Again, remember the options on Sunday. Online services available at 8 a.m. We worship outside at 10:30 a.m. as well as inside at 5 p.m. God bless you. Have a great day. If you need anything, let me know. God bless. Bye-bye.